Okay, Gemara is digressing a little bit over here. We spoke about sirtut, that when you write 3 or 4 words in Tanakh, you have to score the parchment before you actually write the words. Sholchalei leMar They sent a question to Mar Ukva, Zimra Minolon, the Osir. After the Churban Abayis, how do we know that Zimra, song, is not permitted? This is song, we'll see, with wine, with instruments, where it's not within the context of a mitzvah. Meaning, Chazal, they legislated to commemorate and to grieve over the imminent, this is even before the Churban, even before it was destroyed. They prohibited certain things. You know, today in Yerushalayim, in the old city, you know, they play there are no musical instruments. Even at a wedding, they will not have it. They only have drums. Nobody. Why is that? Because in the 1800s, there was a cholera epidemic. And the Mekubalim, they went and they did certain things, and it was communicated to them that the reason why the cholera epidemic, the diphtheria, all kinds of things, a lot of people died, is because they're not sensitive. Here the bias is grieving. Here, you know, the koso's there, and you play musical instruments. So they said, from then on, they said, the minig Yerushalayim is, even at a wedding, they do not have any musical instruments other than a drum. There are no string instruments or no wind instruments. All they have is the drum. Within the wall, the old city.
Oh, within the old city.
Only within the old city. Outside the city, they have regular, you know, entertainment, music. So Zimra Minolan Dosir. Sirte to Kosef. See, he scored the parchment, and he wrote a pasuk. Al Tismach Yisrael El Gil Ba'amim. Yisrael should not rejoice El Gil Ba'amim, as the nations rejoice. That's the pasuk he cited. Why did he cite a different pasuk, which is more explicit? B'shir lo yishtu yayin, yimar sheicha lo shosav. With song you should not drink wine, and the intoxicating beverage will be bitter for the one who drinks it. If you drink it in the context of this celebration, we'll see. Sudas mitzvah is something else. You're permitted, Tosa says.
This is a general statement.
Yeah, b'shir. You go to a wine pub, you know, and you sing, and they play music, and, you know, you celebrate. Have a night out. You're not permitted. So why did he cite that? It's more explicit. I think that's only when you have a musical instrument. What about just singing when you're drinking, where it's not accompanied, you don't have a musical accompaniment? The instrument, but maybe just singing with your mouth, drinking and singing, that would be permitted. Kamash Malon, that you're not permitted. Even with, so that's why he cited the other pasuk. This pasuk would indicate b'shir, what is normally song? Song is normally with a musical instrument. So he cited the other pasuk where there's no allusion to that, to indicate that even shir b'peh. You know, it's interesting. There's an argument, Mara, in Yuma, other locations. The Levim, they played musical instruments in the Beis Hamikdash, and also there was shir b'peh. They sang. So the question is, what exactly is the main avoda? Is it the instrument, or is it the song? Is the instrument is the accompaniment to the song, to the voice, or the voice? The main mitzvah is really is the musical instrument. That is the mitzvah of the Levi. They did both. They did both. Some did do both. Some didn't do both. Whatever it is. But here it's interesting. We're talking about there's playing the musical instrument. That's one. That's shira, and the shira b'peh. So take a look in Tosas over here. When it says Zimram Nolan Doser, what about if you want to sing at home? No, you just close the deal, and you open up a expensive bottle of wine, and you want to sing praises to Hashem in your home. You're not going to a pub to celebrate. Pirush Mkunchis L'Shor Beis HaMishtos. we're speaking about in like a tavern, a place which is designated for drinking. You know, because at the end, before the Churban Abayis, it says the Sanhedrin disbanded. Botel shir b'bisamishtos. It says, what does it say? They ceased singing in the wine pubs. That was a location you would celebrate. So to show that it's a time of semi-mourning, shenema b'shir lo yishto yayin, v'roi lahach mechyotzei, tahu b'Yerushalmi tu kom v'domech b'zimra shemisanik b'yoser. He says you should be machmir, not to overdo it. Even if you do it in your house, not to. No, you get the guys together, and you watch the whatever it is, the Super Bowl, and you're eating whatever you're eating there. You know, you sing with alcoholic beverages. It's not appropriate. You know, the bias is in ruins, and this is what you're carrying on. The shir shel mitzvah. What about shir shel mitzvah? Shari, it's permitted. What is a shir shel mitzvah? Go b'shas chuppah she'osin l'samech osin l'kala. That's a shir shel mitzvah. So you have a sheva brachos, or let's say you have a siyum, or you have chalamoid. They have, you know, you're celebrating the Yom Tif, chalamoid. It's not a problem. To have a musical accompaniment and singing, that's shir shel mitzvah. That's permitted. Okay. Good.
Is it specific to the wine or like beer also?
Same thing, even beer. Yerushalayim. But even shel mitzvah, right? That's what happened in Yerushalayim. Even at weddings, they will not do it.
Well, Gemara seems to be doing something differently than Tosfos. Gemara seems to be quoting Geshaya, which is
That was the Churban Abayis. That was the Churban.
Oh, that's because of the Churban.
That's the Churban, yeah.
Is this a blanket prohibition regardless of where we use?
Yes. This is a blanket prohibition wherever you live. You want to go just drink without singing music, it's not a problem. Time you say, you know, so you go into where they have a bar, there's always music, background music playing. It's not that simple. What about if it's music without words? There's no singing, it's just music. What's shir? Is it the musical accompaniment words? There are all kinds of leniencies. But if it's music with singing, it's not even a question. It's not permitted.
To drink.
It's a combination of music and drinking.
Right.
But just music?
I'm saying these are leniencies. These are leniencies. Let's say you're going to drink, and there happens to be music. You're not in control of it. You have to see, you go out with a client, it's just a pleasant atmosphere. You have nothing to do with the music.
And the singing, you're not doing it.
There's no prohibition of drinking wine.
No, not at all. No, we're speaking about, what about drinking wine? You know, you put on music, and you drink the wine with the musical accompaniment. It's not simple. First of all, there's all, what about live music versus recorded music? It's also not simple, right? Here we're speaking about, it was live music. It was with an instrument. It's not recorded music. Because there's the whole discussion during Sphira. You know, they're at Terim, you know, to listen to music because it's recorded. It's not even Kol Isha, right? The Gemara says Kol Isha is Erva. What about listening to a woman's voice, recorded voice, right? Is at one time wasn't, but again, if most people are machmir, why? Because the whole idea of Kol Isha, it's because what it does to the person when you hear the woman's voice. Then there's a discussion. What about visually you don't see her? When you hear a voice, even if you hear the live voice, do you have to visually see the woman? Because it's a combination of seeing the woman and associating the voice with the woman. That's what arouses the man? Or it's just the voice itself? That's enough to arouse the man. It'd be the same thing. It's arousal. The Gemara says you're the expert, right? The Gemara says in Tainus that if a person says Rochav was the famous prostitute, that so if you say her name Rochav twice, you'll immediately have a seminal discharge. That's how aroused you become, just by saying a name. Just her coming to mind, that's enough. So who is it? Ravashi, Rabbi says, I said it didn't affect me. So what do you tell me? You say, Rochav, you're affected. So it says a person who had relations with her. And he knows what it means to be Rochav, and then he has a recollection, and he says, Rochav, it'll create that arousal again. So it's because it brings back the memory of that original relationship, that's when. So it's the same thing. If you visually see a woman, I'm not saying in terms of to that degree, that's what it brings about, that level of arousal. That's the reason why it's not permitted. But if visually you don't see the woman, the Gemara says that the Gemara says above Mitzvah, that if, at one time they had clotheslines, right? So you'd have women's undergarments being displayed in a public. It says a person is not permitted to gaze at it. Because when you gaze at that, it brings certain things to mind. It's something, it touches a person. It's something, the privacy of a woman. So therefore, you should not gaze. Gemara says if you see two, even birds, engage in procreation, you should not look at it. Because that itself brings about arousal. You shouldn't look at it. So Gemara says, what about a farmer? A farmer, he's into animal husbandry. So Gemara says, Bimlachtu Torit. Because when the farmer does it, he doesn't see it as a sexual act. It's just that's a functioning act. He's inseminating the animal.
Business.
It's business. That's exactly.
So music without drinking, I mean, just going to a concert or something like that.
Not simple. Also not simple. Not simple. Omale Rafuna Baranosa Ravash Maidich Kino Vidimona. Seeing these are locations in Canaan. Kino Vidimona Vadada. What are they? What Omale Misvosa there Tzroka Choshiv. How does he interpret the word Misvosa? Towns. Okay? So it seems they're locations, towns. He says, of course, that's evidently the reason why it's mentioned, it's alluding to something other than just identifying towns. So he says, Rav Gvia, who came from a location called Argiza, he explained what it's alluding to, why these particular names are mentioned. A person who has kina, normally kina has a negative connotation. It means a person has a claim. So Rashi says it's like by Pinchas, kinias kinosi. He avenged my vengeance. The person has a legitimate claim against someone. The domain, and he remains silent. He doesn't act on it. Shochenad yad oslodin. Hashem will take care of that person for him. Meaning, if this is like, a person's marvel midosov. You have a right to have a claim. You could react, and you choose to remain silent. It's going to work out. The shochenad oslodin. He'll take care of the other person. Omale elemiatos. He said, that's the case. If that's what this is alluding to, that's kino vidimona. What about tziklog umedamno v'sansino? What is that alluding to? Hochanami. Omale, he says, he says, you're right, it's alluding to something, but this person who we're quoting, if he'd be here, he'd explain what it means, but unfortunately, he's not here to explain it. But definitely it is alluding to something. So Ravacha, who came from Bechuso, said, Hochi, kol mishesh lo tzakas l'gimal chavero. A person who has the right to cry out against his fellow, he has a legitimate claim, the domain, and he remains silent. Shochen bisner oslodin. The one who dwells in the briar bush will attend to that person, right? It's the snare. It's interesting. It says what's the bisner? What did the snare signify when he saw the burning bush, Moshe? Hine anochi b'tzara. When the Jews are suffering, Hashem says, I feel your pain. So if a person actually has a claim, what's the claim? Because he's victimized, he's in pain, and he has a legitimate claim, and to cry out to Hashem, and he remains silent. Shochim bisneh. What is the shochim bisneh? Referring to Hashem as the one who dwells in the the sticker bush or in the cactus. That means Hashem's Hashem feels your pain, and when Hashem feels your pain, oselo din. That's when Hashem will do the judgment and deal with that person. Amalei Reish Galusa the Rafuna. The Reish Galusa, the Gzelark said to Rafuna, Klila Minolo Dosa. What's Klila? Klila, again, this is at the end of Soto, as a result, like when the different armies came into Eretz Yisrael to destroy the Beis Hamikdash. First, there was the one who finally came to destroy the Beis Hamikdash was Titus. He came to destroy, but before him there was a general, his name was Aspasionis. They came, Vespasian. He first came, and then Titus came and he destroyed the Beis Hamikdash. So he says, how do we know Klila Minol Nodos? How do you know if you have a wedding, they would make a type of crown? It's a question for the bride, for the groom. He'd wear a crown to the wedding. How do you know we don't wear that? We don't fashion that any longer to commemorate the Churban Abayis, or what led up to the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash. Amalei b'Drabanan. He says no, it's rabbinical. Meaning he wanted to say, is it rooted in the pasuk? He says no, it's rabbinical. Titnan bepulmis shel Aspasionis. The armies of Vespasian, when they came to destroy the Beis Hamikdash, gozu al Torah chasanim ba'le'erum. They legislated, they decreed that the crown that a chassan would wear in the ancient days, not only did the bride wear a type of crown, the chassan would wear a crown. So they decreed that the chassan is not permitted to wear it any longer. Ba'le'erus. We'll see what that means. It's a type of musical thing that they would actually entertain the groom and the bride at the wedding. How does he train? Tambourine. Okay. So he says it's Osm Drabanan. Adochi kam Rafuna lafnuye. So Rafuna was the one. The question was posed to him. The Reish Galusa asked Rafuna. He said it's rabbinical, and he cited the Mishnah. When Rafuna was about to get up, Amalei Rav Chizda Kroksiv. It's based on the pasuk. You're saying it's purely rabbinical, but there's a pasuk. Kor ma Hashem Elokim. Pasuk in Yecheskel. Hosir ha-mitznefes. Now, what was the mitznefes? You know, there was 4 vestments worn by the Kohen Hedjed. What was the turban? What was it called? It was called mikbas. The Kohen Hedjed wore a mikbas. The reason why it's called mikbas from the word gova. It's like the upper part of the body. And the Kohen Gadol wore something called a mitznefes. Sniff, right? It wrapped him. If you take a look in the Rambam, what exactly were these turbans? It was a long piece of cloth, and they would wrap it. So the wrapping of the mitznefes was wrapped differently. It could have been the same length of cloth. It's just you wrapped it differently. One was a smaller turban, and the other one was wrapped that it was a wider turban. The Kohen Hedjed wore the larger one, and because the Kohen Gadol, he wore a tzitz. He wore a gold plate on his forehead, and he wore the turban, and he had to wear tefillin. So to be able to wear tefillin when he officiated, he had to have that space between the turban and the tzitz. So therefore, the turban had to be a smaller turban, otherwise it would have pushed down the tefillin. That would have gone beyond his hairline. We'll see Tosas here speaks about it. But factually, mitznefes and mikbas are really one and the same. So it says, Kom Hashem Elokim hoser mitznefes v'horeim ha'Torah. Remove the turban of the Kohen Gadol and remove the Torah. So we see there's a linkage between the crown that's worn and the mitznefes. Zos, lozos. This and not that, which tomorrow we'll explain. Hashvei lo hagbei, what's low, elevate, vagvo hashpeil. And what's elevated, lower. You should raise what's low, and you should lower what's high. Now, so the Gemara asks, V'chima inyan, so Rav Chizda says to Rafuna, V'chima inyan, mitznefes eitzel Torah. What relevance does the turban worn by the Kohen Gadol, what does that have to do with wearing a crown? Kohen Gadol doesn't wear a crown. Elo lo maloch, bizman shemitznefes b'rosh Kohen Gadol. When the Kohen Gadol is officiating, wearing his turban, the mitznefes, a Torah b'rosh kolodim, then a person is permitted to wear the crown. Nistalka mitznefes, mirosh Kohen Gadol. when the Kohen Gadol no longer officiates because the bias is destroyed, Nistalka Torah Mirosh Kolodim, nobody's permitted to wear a crown. Understand? That's what it is. It goes hand. That's the linkage between the mitznefes and the Torah. So the Churban bias, although initially you celebrate, you do many things which are permitted, but now it's inappropriate. You know, Chofetz Chaim once said, you know, in Europe, the Shiv Bachram married very late. Why did they marry late? You know, this is before they had seminaries for women. Before they had seminaries for women. There were very few women who would want to marry a yeshiva bachar. And if you went to university, very often the person wasn't observant. Most people who went had secular, were not observant. So the women, but you come from an observant family, but they say, you know something, but we want a provider. If he's not a proper provider, what's a provider? We want our homes to be furnished with furniture. You know? Can't furnish the house. You know, to live in just a bare whatever it is, residence. They don't want it. So the Chofetz Chaim says, so what do they want? They want to have all the chairs. They want to have a place to sit. It should be proper. All the chairs should match, a table. So he says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, Ki al keis ko. My throne is not secure until a Molech is obliterated. You mean God's throne is not secure, and you want your chairs should be secure? God is okay without the furniture, but you need your furniture. That's the point he made. Okay. Now, one time when people were married, many years ago, when did you fully furnish a house? You know, it took a little while. Today, before you get married, fully furnished. Not only fully furnished, whatever silver you need for Shabbos, it's in the break front. Years ago, it took maybe 25 years to accumulate what you had. It's not, you know, fully, you know, turnkey moving. What didn't work that way. It's a different world. Whatever. So Rav Huna comes back. Rav Huna originally said it's purely rabbinical. Rav Chisda cites a pasuk based on the verse in Yechezkel. That's the basis why you're not permitted to wear a crown, because the linkage of the crown to the mitznefes. Omalei holokim midrabanon. He says, how can it's a pasuk? It's only rabbinical. Omalei elo Chizdo shmeich. So Rav Huna says to Rav Chisda, your name is Chizdo. V'chazdon milech. Your words are chesed. Mean what you said is beautiful, but factually, even the pasuk, it's purely rabbinical. It's not a doraisa. The Gemara says a number of locations that cites a pasuk in Yechezkel, and it's a doraisa. So the Gemara asks, and until Yechezkel came, how did we know the doraisa? Yechezkel is a novi. So it says, where do we know this, that there's this provision, or whatever it may be? Cites pasuk Yechezkel. And it says, and until Yechezkel came, how did we know? And it says not only that, no, ain't novi rashoy l'chadish dover. A novi is not permitted to introduce any new halacha. So our answer is, it was halacha l'mishum Sinai. The somcha kro. It's halacha. It's purely was communicated at Sinai. So there is no pasuk, except he's just articulating what the halacha l'mishina was. That's the pasuk. So he says, it's rabbinical. Oh, but it's not that. Chizdo shmeich v'chazdon milech. Your name is Chizdo, and your words are like chesed. Meaning they're pleasant. Ravino ashke lemamba Ravashi davi godil klilo lebrate. Ravino comes upon Marba Ravashi, and he's forming a crown for his daughter's wedding. He says, what are you doing? I mean, you don't accept the interpretation of the pasuk when there's no longer the mitznefes, there's no longer a crown. One, not by the chos, not by the collar. Amalei, do me the Kohen Gadol. So he answered him. He says, no, it's similar to the Kohen Gadol, right? Only a man is qualified to be the Kohen. There's no such thing as Kohenes. Okay? Begavri avol noshi lo. Initially, that pasuk only alludes that the man is not. The chosin would wear a crown. The man doesn't wear the crown, as the Kohen Gadol doesn't wear the mitznefes. But the woman's permitted. My zos lo zos. Right, the pasuk concludes in Yechezkel, this and not that. Dorsha of Vaeira zimna omalei mishmei de Ravami. There were times he would say the name of Ravami, zimna omalei mishmei de Ravasi. There are times he would say it in the name of Ravasi. B'shosha ma'akodesh Baruch Hu l'isho hosem its nefes v'horim erat Torah. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to Klal Yisrael, it's time to close shop. Remove the mitznefes. That means the Kohen Gadol will no longer officiate. And at that time remove the crown, meaning we're destroying the Beis HaMikdash, and you can't display any level of prominence any longer. But the Jews have merit. They have exceptional merit. They have something going for them. What is it? Right? You were amazed at Sinai, right? The Gemara says in Shabbos, what Hashem, when we said Nasa Nishma, what did Hashem say? Mi Gila Rosella Bonai, who revealed the secret to my children? They speak like angels. So if they have Zos, why are you destroying the Beis HaMikdash? Allow the Kohen to continue to officiate and let the Chosen wear the crown. Omalen Lozos. No. It doesn't stand in their stead any longer. Although initially they had it, today it no longer stands in their stead. Why? Lozos Len Lishob. Because they took which was high, which was special, and they lowered it. And they took what was lowly, and they raised it up. And what was that? They put an idol in the Beis HaMikdash. What, I shouldn't destroy the Beis HaMikdash? What exactly is its value? Its value is to serve me. But if they put idolatry in there, so it's lozos. It's not what you're saying. If it has relevance to originally is one thing. No relevance. There's a Sefarno. David, even when you were, I quoted you. I said, if Dave would be here, he'd know the Sefarno. The Sefarno says, Vayoka melech chodosh ashelo yodas Yosef. So the question is, so there's an argument, was it the same king? It was only a new mandate? But still, but everybody who was part of Egyptian history, if not for Yosef, Egypt would have perished in the famine. So how do you go and mistreat his family? Turn them into chattels, where they contributed so much, Egypt wouldn't exist. So the Sefarno says that when it says Vayirbu, Vayishritzu, Vayatzmu, it says their behavior was like shrotzing. They fell to a level of behavior that you couldn't believe that they were the same family. It's like you see a person, you see this person, he's so-and-so's grandchild. His grandfather was a holy rabbi. There's no semblance of recognition. Corrupted, warped, perverted, depraved human being. That's the way the Jews became. As a result of that, Lo Yodas Yosef, you say, something, they're not one and the same. There may be some faint connection, but it's not the same. There's a famous word.
Is that just because of the birthright?
No. The Vishritzu, he's not learning. They teamed like rodents. They behaved like rodents.
But we usually say that.
No, that's Chazal.
The birthright.
That's Chazal.
I mean, you hear that today. Sorry to interrupt your thought, Rabbi, but when you have a Haredi family where there are 10 children in the family, and you have a secular Jew looking at this, it says they're behaving like animals. Just the birthright itself.
See, at one time they spoke a little more sophisticated, a little more refined. That breeding. Today maybe they say they're looking like animals. You understand? And you're not an animal. You're an intellectual animal. Okay. Okay.
It's a little bit different because the idol set up hundreds of years before, and at the time that
Well, this in the Beis HaMikdash.
there's no idol in the base.
How do you know what was at the end? At the end, the very end. This is the very end. They didn't do tshuva. They didn't do tshuva. This is the first. 1 second. There's a Meir Shapiro. Meir Shapiro, he built the Chachmei Lublin, and it was the first yeshiva that was a modern yeshiva. It had indoor plumbing. There was, at one time before he built that, why did he build it? What was the impetus for him to build it? He was a very, very gifted, capable, exceptional human being. Passed away in his early 50s without children. What happened was, in those days, where did Yeshiva Bacha sleep? He had storekeepers, so they would allow the yeshiva bacher to sleep in the stores, and they would be the watchmen. So they would not pay a watchman's fee. So they provided a residence. What happens is the storekeeper would show up 9:30. He would lock the store, so the bacher would be locked in the store. He had no choice, couldn't get out. So they were actually abusing the students, taking advantage, and what kind of respect could you have for Torah? This is the future of Torah. But if the people, the townspeople, this is the way they treat he says it's a disgrace, he's going to create the first dormitory. And Chachmei Lublin had a very modern dormitory, provided whatever they needed. Indoor plumbing, indoor heat, and he came to the United States to raise money for it in 1927. And he was a phenomenal orator. And he had ingenious insights besides being an orator. And he was in Chicago, he said this. And he said, you find kruvim mentioned twice in the Torah. Kruv means cherubs. What's the first time? No. First,
out of
the Garden of Eden.
Right.
Hashem didn't want Adam to return, so he put the kruvim, cherubs, the word, with cherev mislet etes, and there was a sword swinging back and forth. He couldn't come. And the second time kruvim is mentioned by the Oron. Shnei kruvim, right, on the Oron. Now, Rashi over there, by the Garden of Eden, what is the meaning of kruvim? Malachi chavodah, accosting angels. By the Oron, when it says kruvim by the Oron, it says, Peneim k'pnei tinokos. Their faces were like the faces of babes, purity. I mean, either it doesn't mean one. I mean, it's like the two interpretations are so representing the extremes of good and the extremes of negative. So how could word mean both? So he said that if you take a Jewish child who's as innocent as a babe, you expose him to the sword, he becomes a monster. That same child, the Torah is the innocence, the purity is one of a kind. The same child, and these are the children of Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. They go into an environment called Egypt, Vayishritzu. To a degree, you couldn't recognize, there was no semblance of recognition what they are. Therefore, he enslaved them. It can't be the same family. I can't believe it. Therefore, in his mind, he recognized he turned them into slaves. That's a Sifarno. They said Nasav Nishma. Is it possible? It's possible. Dorsha of Vaeira, Zimne Omalei Mishmei Duravam, Zimne Omalei Mishmei Duravasi, Maidich Siv, Ko Amar Hashem, Im Shlemim, V'chein Rabim, V'chein Nigozav V'ovar. Im Ro Odom Shemzonosov Mitzimtzomim. Yasmim Tzoka. If a person sees he has limited income, okay, it's good. Good financial advice, okay? For your financial planner, you tell your client. If a person sees that he has limited income, Yasmin Tzedakah. You should take part of that money, give it away to Tzedakah. For Kolshkim Shem Merubim, so if when you have a limited income, if you want to increase your financial success, you should give Tzedakah. So if a person has abundant money, definitely. What do you mean, Nigozu? Now, what's the meaning of gozes? Gozes is shearing. If you're sheared, you pass. If you're not sheared, you don't pass. Person who shaves off some of his assets and he gives them to tzedakah, he will be saved from the judgment of Gehenna. What is it analogous to? Interesting. You have two sheep. Show you over b'mayim, two passing through a river. One is shorn, and the other one is laden with fleece. So what happens with the sheep? When the fleece goes in the water, the fleece comes absorbed with the water, gets weighted down, the sheep drowns. The one who's shorn, this doesn't absorb. The sheep is able to swim across the water. Gezuza Avra, the one who's shorn is able to pass through the water. She'enik Gezuza Lo Avra. But the sheep that's not shorn, that has the fleece that it gets absorbed, it's not going to make it through. You know, there's a pasuk, Mishnah, it says, "Tzedakah tatzim mimovis." Saves. What is it? Everybody's going to die eventually. You understand? We're always concerned about kitrug. Kitrug means there's some level of prosecution which activates the midas adin. Nobody's perfect. Nobody has a perfect record. It saves them midina shel gehenim. What's dina? That's the judgment. Meaning it could go either way. It's a gray area. So if there's prosecution, it goes to the negative. If there's no prosecution because of midas harachmim, a person's able to make it through. Now, what activates and precipitates midas harachmim? That's what we said in the pasuk. Even if you have mizonot mitzvah, if you shave off part of your assets and give it to tzedakah, that will establish and secure midas harachmim. That's the tzedakah tatzmi movis. If you don't and you're heavily laden with the fleece and you didn't shave off any of it, then you don't pass through. Then you're going to be noticed, and if you're noticed, then you're going to be prosecuted. That's done.
Except the advice of giving this one who doesn't have a lot. So the sheep that
It says,
has a lot of
wait, it says
fleece-
even.
I know,
Even if it's mizonos mitzumtzomim,
Kol
it says kal v'chomim ruben, kol shkein.
What's the kol v'chomim? If you don't have a lot of fleece, things aren't going to drown.
No, but you have assets.
For a very wealthy person that has which is the analogy of a lot of fleece.
He's definitely going to drown.
Okay.
But we say even misha mizonos mitzumtzomim, you have enough to cover, but you can't afford luxuries. There are no excesses. But even that, you should shave some off and give it away. Because he's sufficiently laden that if you could get caught. Just do it at the bottom, Tosas. Take a moment. The Gemara uses the term mitznefes. The pasuk in Yecheskel associates the mitznefes, which was the turban worn by the Kohen Gadol, with the what? With the crown. B'zman shemitznefes b'rosh korov. The oseh shel kohen hedjit kori migbas. The turban that was worn by the ordinary Kohen was called migbas. K'dichsi sisalem avneitim u'migbos. It's pasuk. The avneit is the belt. U'mefarsh rivov b'shem the Kohen hedjit lohoy tzitz. The Kohen Hedjit didn't wear the gold plate on his forehead. Voisa Gedola, and it was large. It was a larger turban. Kruya Migbas, that's what was called Migbas. Avol Shel Kohen Gadol Hoisa Ketano. It was a smaller turban. Kruya Mitznefes. Mi Omri Dashchem B'Loshna Gemara Dekori Nami Mitznefes Shel Hedjit. We find the Gemara says, Perak Rishoned B'Yuma. The Gemara says over there, just end with this, that initially, how would they divide up the various responsibilities based on Mikdash? Right? Who do the avoda? They had a ramp. The ramp was nearly 20 feet high. So they would race. They would have two coins. They would race to the top, and whoever would arrive first, he would have the right to do the avoda. And they would have a race. What happened? Two of them raced to the top, and one of them did it. He took his fellow coin, he pushed him off the side. Instead, we're talking about stones, a marble floor, falling, and not bracing yourself. He nearly was killed. So they saw his bully de sakana. Having this kind of system is not an advisable system, so they drew lots. So it says the Kohen would take off his turban, and they put in a number, and then they would count, and and when they came to that number, he was the one who merited to do it. So it says who took off his turban, an ordinary Kohen, but it says he took off his mitznefes. So you see that even the ordinary in the vernacular of the Gemara, mitznefes doesn't necessarily mean the turban of the Kohen Gadol. It could even be the turban of the ordinary Kohen.